What if the greatest obstacle in your life is not the world outside you, but a quiet story you have been repeating inside your own mind? Imagine waking tomorrow and realizing that the limits you believed in, your fears, your doubts, your hesitation, were never solid walls at all, but shadows cast by old thoughts that simply stayed with you for too long. For many years, you may have believed that motivation comes from force, from discipline, from pushing harder and harder every single day until something finally gives. But what if true motivation grows the way a forest grows, slowly, quietly, from the smallest seed of belief planted in the right place? And what if that seed could be planted today, without struggle, without shouting at yourself, simply by seeing your life a little more clearly than you did before? I want you to picture something with me. Imagine standing at the edge of a vast forest just before sunrise. The air is cool and gentle, the ground beneath your feet soft with leaves that have fallen over many seasons. The world feels quiet, almost perfectly still. Yet beneath that calm surface, something extraordinary is happening. Roots are stretching through dark soil. Tiny organisms are working in places the eye can never see. Seeds are beginning their long, patient journey upward toward the light. The forest looks peaceful, but it is full of determination. Life is unfolding everywhere, quietly and steadily, without rush and without doubt. Human growth is very much the same. Many people believe motivation is a lightning bolt that strikes certain lucky individuals while the rest of us simply watch from the sidelines. They imagine that somewhere out there are people who wake up every morning overflowing with certainty and energy, people who never question themselves, people who never hesitate. But after observing the natural world for a very long time and observing human beings with equal curiosity, I have come to understand something different, something far kinder and far more hopeful. Motivation is not a lightning bolt. Motivation is an environment. It is the set of conditions that allow something inside you to grow. When people say they are lazy or weak or lacking discipline, they often misunderstand what is really happening. Nothing in nature grows in the wrong environment. A seed placed in dry, barren soil will not grow no matter how loudly we demand it to grow. But place that same seed in rich soil, give it sunlight, give it water, and suddenly growth begins to feel natural and inevitable. The seed itself did not change, the environment changed. And once you understand this, a quiet realization begins to appear in your mind. Perhaps you were never broken. Perhaps you were simply trying to grow in conditions that were never designed to support you. Let me tell you about something remarkable that happens in certain forests around the world. Occasionally, wildfires sweep through these landscapes with frightening power. Flames move across the land, trees fall, the sky fills with smoke, and to human eyes, it can look like devastation, like the end of something beautiful. Yet hidden beneath the soil are seeds that cannot open without heat. These seeds remain sealed for years, sometimes decades, waiting silently in the darkness. And when the fire finally comes, the intense heat cracks them open. Only then can new life begin. Within weeks, tiny green shoots appear through the blackened soil. Within months, the ground begins to shimmer with new plants. Within years, a young forest stands where ashes once lay. The fire that looked like destruction was also the beginning of renewal. Now think about your own life for a moment. Perhaps you have experienced something that felt like a wildfire, a failure that made you question your path, a loss that shook your confidence. A moment when the future looked uncertain and the ground beneath your feet seemed to shift. It is natural in those moments to believe the story is over, to believe that the fire has taken something away that can never return. But nature offers a gentler perspective. Sometimes pressure cracks open the seeds that comfort kept closed. Sometimes the very experiences that appear to break us are the ones that awaken new strength within us. Many people discover abilities they never knew they possessed only after life asks more of them than they expected, and that discovery changes everything. Across the planet, there is another story unfolding every year that quietly teaches the same lesson. Certain birds travel thousands of miles across oceans and continents in search of warmer seasons and richer lands. They face storms, powerful winds, endless stretches of unfamiliar territory, yet they continue moving forward with astonishing determination. What makes this journey truly fascinating is that these birds do not possess a perfect map of the entire route. They do not sit down at the beginning of the season with a carefully drawn plan describing every mile of the journey. Instead, they rely on something simpler and more powerful. They rely on direction. They sense when it is time to move. They adjust when the winds change. They rest when their wings grow tired. Step by step, mile by mile, they move closer to where they need to be. And human progress often works in the same way. One of the greatest burdens people carry is the belief that they must see the entire path before taking the first step. We tell ourselves we will begin when everything is perfectly planned, when we are certain that the outcome will justify the effort. But if every migrating bird waited for perfect certainty, none of them would ever leave the ground. Sometimes the only clarity you need is the next step. Not the entire mountain, just the next step. Now here's something that surprises many people when they first notice it. The natural world rarely relies on force. Instead, it relies on alignment. Rivers flow because gravity guides them. Plants grow because sunlight draws them upward. Ecosystems thrive because each part supports the others in quiet balance. When the conditions are right, growth becomes natural. When the conditions are wrong, even the strongest organism struggles. Think about the environment you live in every day. The sounds around you, the expectations placed upon you, the habits that shape your routine. Imagine trying to focus deeply on something meaningful while distractions constantly demand your attention. Messages appear, screens glow, worries echo through your mind. Even the most determined person would struggle in such conditions. But remove the noise, create a space that encourages calm and clarity, and suddenly focus becomes easier. The difference is not your willpower. The difference is the environment. There is another misunderstanding that quietly holds many people back, and it concerns doubt. From a young age, we are often taught that confident people succeed because they never question themselves. We imagine that courage means moving forward without hesitation. But nature once again tells a different story. When a deer approaches an unfamiliar clearing, it pauses. It listens carefully to the wind. It studies the landscape before taking another step. That pause is not weakness, it is awareness. Humans experience something very similar. When you begin something meaningful, something that truly matters to you, doubt often appears. Your mind asks careful questions. Will this work? Am I capable? What if I fail? These questions do not mean you lack strength. They mean you understand the importance of what you are attempting. Confidence does not appear before action. Confidence grows after action. Consider a child learning to ride a bicycle. The first attempt is full of wobbling uncertainty. The child falls, stands again, tries once more. Gradually, balance improves. Fear slowly fades. Confidence arrives not as a gift, but as the natural result of repeated movement. And this leads us to one of the most powerful forces shaping the world around us: small movements repeated over time. Rivers carve enormous canyons not through sudden explosions of strength, but through steady, patient flow. Drop by drop, year after year, water reshapes solid stone. Trees grow in the same quiet way. Each year they add a thin ring beneath their bark, a change so small it is almost invisible in the moment. Yet over decades, those rings become towering forests that shelter countless forms of life. Human progress follows the same pattern. The grand transformations we admire are often the result of tiny actions repeated consistently with patience and care. You might wonder where to begin if the path ahead feels uncertain. The answer is simpler than most people expect. Begin by changing your environment in small, thoughtful ways. Ask yourself what single adjustment today would make tomorrow easier. Perhaps it means placing your phone in another room when you wish to focus. Perhaps it means waking a little earlier to enjoy a moment of quiet before the day begins. Perhaps it means surrounding yourself with people who speak about possibilities rather than limitations. These gentle changes reshape the soil in which your potential grows. The next step is to take the smallest possible action toward what matters to you. When a goal appears enormous, the mind naturally resists. The imagination begins to measure the distance and quietly whispers that the journey is too long. But when the first step is small, resistance softens. Write one sentence, read one page, practice for 1 minute. Movement begins, momentum follows. The third practice is to redefine the way you measure progress. Many people end their day asking a harsh question: did I succeed today? Success is a beautiful goal, but it is often too large a measure for a single day of effort. Instead, ask a gentler question: did I move forward today? If the answer is yes, even in the smallest way, then you are already participating in the ancient rhythm of growth that shapes forests and rivers and living landscapes across the earth. Across nature, life rarely travels in straight lines. Storms reshape coastlines, rivers change direction, forests burn and grow again. Yet through every change, life continues. It adapts, it learns, it evolves. And the same quiet process is unfolding inside you. You may feel uncertain about where your path leads. You may feel that your progress is slower than you hoped it would be. But remember the forest slowly rising after fire. Remember the birds crossing oceans without perfect maps. Remember the rivers carving patient paths through stone. Growth does not always look dramatic in the moment. Often it looks small and quiet and almost invisible. But over time, those small moments accumulate into something remarkable. So here's the truth I hope you carry with you after listening today. You are not broken. You are not incapable. You are not stuck. You are simply growing. And growth, like everything in the natural world, takes time. If something in these words resonated with you, I would genuinely love to hear what you were thinking. Share in the comments one small step you are willing to take today. A single step is enough to begin a journey, and if you enjoy exploring the quiet lessons hidden within life and nature, consider liking this video and subscribing so we can continue discovering these ideas together. Because sometimes the most powerful change in a human life begins not with a dramatic leap, but with one calm realization that the story you believed about your limits was never the final chapter at all.